So wings had come to stay, everyone admitted, although most people complained that, after all, flying was not so wonderful when one could do it, as they thought it would have been. For the popular fancy had inclined towards pinning on a pair of gauzy appendages and soaring at once into empyrean heights with the spontaneity of a lark, or lightly fluttering from point to point with the ease and grace of a butterfly. They found that a pair of wings cost rather more than a high-grade bicycle, and that the novice who could struggle from the stage into a net placed 20 yards away after a month's course of daily practices was held to be very promising. There was no more talk of England lying at the mercy of any and every invader, for one man, and one only, had so far succeeded in crossing even the Channel, and that at its narrowest limit. A Conservative prelate was reported to have said that he saw in an invention which provided his countrymen with wings just at that particular juncture, it was then the early part of 1906 AC, another instance of the beneficent providence that sent a plenitude of whores in a hard winter. But His Grace's knowledge of the subject was chiefly gained from the pages of the comic papers. To the comic papers, wings had been sent as an undiluted blessing. But if flying in its infancy did not come up to the wider expectation, there were many who found in it a novel and exhilarating sport. There were also those who, discovering something congenial in the new force, sat quietly and resolutely to work to develop its possibilities and to raise it above the level of a mere fashionable novelty. There have always been some, a few, not infrequently Englishmen, who have unostentatiously become preeminent in every development of science with a fixity of purpose. Their names rarely appear in the pages of history, but they largely write it. Hastings permitted mixed flying. It was a question that had embittered many a town council. To one section, it seemed horrible that a father, a husband, or a brother should be torn for 20 minutes from the side of his female relatives. To the opposing section, it seemed hideous that coatless men should be allowed to spread their wings within 150 yards of shoeless women. I have no particular convictions, one prominent citizen remarked, but in view of the existing railway facilities, it is worthwhile considering whether we shall have any visitors at all this season if we stand in the way of families flying down together. The humour of the age was flowing mordaciously, even as the wit of France had done a little more than a century before. The readiest jests carried a tang, whether turning upon personal poverty, municipal extravagance, or national incapacity. Opinion being evenly divided, the local rate of 17 shillings in the pound influenced the casting vote in favour of mixed flying. There were necessary preparations, including a captive balloon in which an ancient mariner, decked out with a pair of wings like a superannuated Cupid, was posted to render assistance to the faltering. The rates at once rose to 17 shillings and sixpence, but the principle of the enterprise was admitted to be sound. So on this pleasant summer afternoon, an ideal day for a fly, said everyone, the heights above the old town were echoing to the ceaseless gaiety of the watching crowd, for elatics had not yet ceased to be a novelty, while the air above was cleft by 100 pairs of beating wings. A remarkable sight, said an old man who had opened conversation with the sociable craving of the aged. 10 years ago, we expected little of this. Why, no, replied his chance acquaintance on the seat. If I remember rightly, the tendency was all towards a combination of the balloon and the motor car, on the principle that, as the former can rise in the air, and the latter be guided on land, a combination must result in a navigable air machine. You don't fly yourself. The young man, and he was a stalwart enough youth, looked at himself critically, as if mentally picturing the effect of a pair of wings upon his person. "Well, no," he replied. "One doesn't get the time for practice. Then consider the price of the things and the annual license, or they won't let you forget that, I assure you." "Well, is it worth it?"